Welcome to IAYT and welcome to Comic Fights. It's Friday, so that means we're going to look back at last week's fight. I'm going to give some opinions, and we're going to go into this week's fight. Last week we had Killer Croc versus Warpath. Now first I want to ask a question because some people said that Killer Croc had poisonous fangs. And I looked everywhere and I couldn't see any examples of that. It's not on any wikis. So if that's true, that's likely going to change things. But without poisonous fangs, I think the win goes to Warpath. Here's Adam Leslie's thoughts. Warpath would win. Killer Croc is strong, but he is still human. Warpath is better trained and he can fly, so push come to shove, he can just fly up and outlast Croc. Or he can just break Croc's legs as Croc can't move as fast as him. Or he could stab Croc. Croc has little chance of winning, as if he inflicts any damage, which is unlikely, Warpath could heal. So Warpath has the advantage in almost every single area, especially with vibranium daggers. But if Killer Croc is poisonous, that might even the odds. So if you know of a reference where that comes into play, either pre or post 52, anything, put in the comments where he has poisonous fangs because I'm not finding it. So now let's go into this week. This week we have Multiple Man James Madrox versus the Green Arrow Oliver Queen. Let's start with Multiple Man. He is a type of mutant called a changeling that exhibits their abilities at birth instead of puberty. So when he was born, all of a sudden James was duplicating himself, basically spontaneously creating clones. And it turned out he was prompted by this kind of physical impact, so if he'd get hit, slapped, whatever, he would create a clone. Eventually he learned to control this. So now as an adult, he can either hit himself or he's trained to the point where if he focuses, he can create clones without physical harm, I guess. So he can create all these clones that are basically identical to him. They are thinking, they are living, breathing people, but they all are copies of him. So they follow basically his personality traits, even though the further they go, they start to maybe kind of take on one trait, and each generation becomes a little more extreme. So maybe they become really aggressive, maybe they become really charming. Like they take these traits and they become more and more exaggerated as they go. Now, if a duplicate is killed or injured, he does feel it. So he is tied to these duplicates. So if it's hurt, yes, he would feel it. It wouldn't kill him, but it would hurt him. And the original Multiple Man has never been killed, but it's believed that if he's killed, one of the other copies would just take the place as the dominant James Madrox. So I don't think killing the original would stop them, but someone else would just take up that mantle and make more clones. There doesn't seem to be an upward number of how many clones there can be. We've seen, I think, up to like 100 something. So there can be a ton. Multiple Man can also absorb these clones, these duplicates, back into himself. And when he does that, he gains any skills, memories, experiences that they have. So he's actually sent out duplicates to learn a skill and come back. For example, one of them learned to be an EMT. One of them trained with Shaolin monks in the art of stealth. And then when they come back, now all of the duplicates are able to have that knowledge and those memories. He can also reabsorb clones in order to heal himself. So if he kind of is injured, by taking these duplicates back in, it's kind of giving him the material and energy needed to regenerate from those wounds. In terms of actual fighting prowess, he's just a normal guy. He's trained in martial arts, like basic fighting, but he's not super strong, he's not super fast. He is just a person that is trained in a couple different skills, but very average. So now let's talk about Oliver Queen. Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, is the best archer ever known in the DC universe. He's been quoted as saying that he can shoot 29 arrows in a span of a minute. So he is precise, quick, and he has technology on his side. So some of these arrows can stun, they have nets, they have kind of different tools and tricks that he needs, though he is very partial to just the plain old arrow. He is a martial artist. He's trained in a couple different martial arts. He's also an acrobat, so he's been known to do these extravagant maneuvers while shooting an arrow. One thing that may come into play here is that he doesn't like to kill. So he will always go for the non-lethal blow if that's an option. So here we've got Green Arrow, just a guy, but he's an incredible archer that is very fast, very powerful, and very precise, versus a mutant of sorts that can replicate himself over and over again, but each time one of them is killed or hurt, he feels it. So the original copy might be going through some stress here after 100 of them are potentially taken out by the Green Arrow. So what do you think would happen here? One guy extremely talented versus potentially 100 normal guys. Do you think there's certain scenarios where one would come out of over the other? So lay out what you think would happen, the variations over where and when and how this takes place. What do you think would happen here between these two? And as always, give me suggestions for future fights. Last week, I got a lot of great ones. I'm doing research on some of these characters because you picked out some obscure ones I have to look up. Some of them are no-brainers, so I try to go for some more complicated ones. But give me your thoughts, as always. 2 people you want to see face off against each other. And we'll see you next week on Comic Fights. You wanna fight?